14224, covers this idea around asset or data integrity around your assets. We know from so many different customers and prospects that we hear that data integrity is always a big issue for them. And then we hear on the other flip side where you have so much data, you don't know what to do with it.
Right.
I think the main thing that would love to get some insight in is how do you prioritize what pieces of data are important? And what does ISO 14224 say?
Well, one of the things that talks about the collection and exchange of reliability and maintainability data, for equipment. And it's an international standard for collecting the data to help you manage maintenance of your assets. That's really the objective of it. And that includes the reliability data. Now, the whole thing around it is one is how do you structure your CMMS? How do you structure the hierarchy in your CMS? So you can actually look at across your organization and find out a few things. One, am I managing my assets effectively? And if I manage my assets effectively, I want to know where are my problems. And ISO 14224, when you look across how they've got it set up from a hierarchical standpoint, you can break it down from there and determine, okay, so in what areas, as far as overall, am I having problems? And then I should be able to break it down from there, from not just that, but down to even a lower level of it. It starts out with at the top of ISO 14224, talks about whatever industry you're in. So if you're in oil and gas, in fact, ISO 14224, it says for oil and gas, but it's the only standard for the collection of maintainability and reliability data and the dissemination of it to drive improvements. So it starts out with the industry and then a business category. So like if you're in oil and gas, or you're into drilling, or you're into refineries and so on, then it gets down to installation, and then, or it could be plant. I tell people, don't get too broken up into the equipment taxonomy or the natural grouping of the equipment. But when you get down to the equipment unit, okay, and you get down to the components, the maintainable item, that's usually where I stop. As far as the part ought to be in the CMMS underneath the component of maintainable equipment, underneath the subunit or your asset that you have it under. So we can make sure we're managing the right information. A good example is if we have problems in our organization or one asset, we may have a similar asset that we have the same problem, but if we don't have it correlated correctly in our CMMS, then we don't know if we're having the same problem.
Yeah.
So this whole thing about assimilation of data is assimilate it, and then to be able to determine, where are my resources going, my time, my people, and money, and making sure that when I'm driving improvements in asset reliability, that I know I'm doing the right thing because I'm getting the right data, getting accurate data.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ricky. The whole premise of ISO 14224 is this idea of categorization and creating hierarchies of your data so that you can draw basically reports on similar assets, similar trends, and draw conclusions so that you could drive action. So
Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is like, a lot of our customers, they've got an asset list, right, of let's call it HVACs and boilers. And if a boiler goes down, for example, when they go out to repair, let's call it not that same exact boiler, but a similar boilers, at a different plant, they want to be able to associate the data and repair history of a previous boiler that went down with this new one. Is that correct?
Yeah, and when you notice on a boiler, there's only certain items on boilers, and they may be a different manufacturer boiler or whatever, but a lot of the maintainable items are going to be similar.
Yeah.
Are they having the same problem I'm having? Or across a plant, like if I'm at a plant, am I having the same problem on one side of the plant or on the other, on one production line or the other? If I got overhead cranes, or all my overhead cranes having the same problems, but they have different assets but similar components.